times. I can hear you deep in my mind. Can we find a space in time, 2 dimensions? Only you.
It looks like all bar 2 people have gone for the medium compound tires. Vanya has chosen hards for this start of the race, and Alex has chosen soft. So I think Alex's game plan here is get a good start, try and make your way as far forward as possible. If you can get past the mediums and get into the train of those ahead, then fantastic. Otherwise, it's just see what you can do. So yeah, here we go then. As they all get back into their grid boxes, we are about to get underway with this Grand Prix. 36 laps of the Austrian circuit. This is arguably one of the best circuits in the world when it comes to overtaking opportunities. At least in my books it is, because here we are. Lights are on then. We've got Zones leading us away from pole position. And it's go time here in Austria. Zone's actually got a great start, but Ghetto looks to have potentially got a better one. He's actually going to tuck in behind him. Top Tom's going to get around the outside. He's having to back out of that one. That's quite close, but quite smart. You've also got the AlphaTauri and the Williams of Samidia actually trying to battle his way through. C-Post is in P5. Remember, look at the pace that Samidia has got. He seems to have so much less wings, which is allowing him to get that car ahead. But then C-Post has got for a move down the inside. He's locked himself back into P5. You also need to watch out here for Rainbow, who's actually going to potentially make this 3 wide as they come towards turn 4. Rainbow's actually in a really good position, but he's going to have to take a tight line down the inside towards turn 4. He's backed out. C-Post has gone down the inside, and Samidia will get locked out there. There's a bit of contact between the two of them, but I think as this first lap has started so far, everything seems all green. No yellow flags anywhere.
Yeah, I can't see anyone with any damage or anything, so it looks so far so good right now. Right hand side very, very early. I don't know if he's back end just slipped out, but that's allowed Dennis to try and make a move around the outside. Not quite going to make it stick. And on there, Filter makes a dive bomb up there, and I think it may have had a little tap, and it looks like he's lost it.
I believe we've lost Higgsy, yes. He went way off the track there and back into the pits.
Yeah, I think Higgsy's having some network problems. Not ideal, so it's disconnected a few times. You know, Tuny here's actually been right on the back of Banyo.
Again, they are on that alternate strategy. They will be faster later on, and they should start to reel in those ahead of them. And I think they've actually got pace today.
Yeah, they definitely seem to have some pace. It's just whether this fighting is causing them to just fall out the reach of those in front.
Brownie, he's actually going for a move here. Danico down the inside in towards turn 4. A little bit of wheel banging between them, but it's only mild. It looks like Danico's got the better exit. Brown's going to have to stick around the outside for turn 5. He's got a much better run though in terms of the natural pace, but he has decided, I'm going to back out, go for a little switch back of dreams, and he's got him because Danico runs wide, gets onto the gravel, and that pulls it back. Ruins from Danico. He's off into the gravel trap. That is a mistake made. I think who's actually behind Vanier may go for a move here as well. He's not using the ERS, but I think he's kind of relying on how good his brakes are. He's going to maybe take... No, he's actually decided...
Kenny's lost losing the position here to Rainbow. Now, this is what I said. Rainbow's not afraid to go for that dive up the inside, and he's actually made it stick. Both of them have the DRS, and slipstream, so it should still stick with Rainbow on his grippier tyres. But this is a great battle as he just drives him off a little bit too wide, and that is Cuny now in the gravel.
Yeah, and that was very much a Hamilton-Albon sort of situation. Leaders, because of the fact that they haven't yet pit and they have done 15 laps on those medium tyres, but they are very much under threat from everybody around them. C-Post is through up towards P2. Rainbow and Vanier going at it as well, coming in towards turn 2, turn 3, and that is now Rainbow through on Vanier and up to P9.
Yep, and Zones has just made the move stick on both C-Post and on Brownie. It's been fantastic work there done by Zones, but C-Post is fighting him back on those grippy soft tyres. Zones, this is a battle that Zones doesn't need to get caught up on. He knows that C-Post needs to pit again.
But I don't need to worry about him at all. Not just... Oh, but he needs to worry about Dennis, who very nearly lost it. Coming through that second to last corner. He's having a rejoin that very nearly comes into the side of C-Post. And Zones now is looking to go for that move on Dennis coming in towards turn 1. He realises the importance of getting it done nice and early, and he has actually done it, but he's got a tight line through turn 1. He does run wide at turn 2. This allows Dennis to get right back on him once more. DRS is available for Dennis. DRS is also available for Zones.
here from Soft. This is not a fight you need to get caught up in. Get out of the way, let him go, but he's actually going for an attack now on Dennis as Get-Own's going around the other side. And this could be a heavy braking zone here for both Get-Owned and for Brownie.
Oh, Get-Owned! Oh wow, what a move round the outside! Second margin here on Zones. He did have to go around the outside in order to keep himself in the running for this race win, because if Zones pulls away, it's so hard for Get-Owned to bring on the field. Then Zones, he should actually be able to attack if he wants to. Lots of ERS being burned here. He knows this is the time to pound. Zones is stuck on the inside. Get-Own's going to have to do it round the outside. A little bit of contact between them. There's a bit of a lock up there from Zones, but the better line has been given to Get-Own. He will be able to make it stick, and he has now taken race lead.
And that was incredible. Well done for both of those guys.
When we get to that final lap, there will be no ERS saving. In fact, it actually looks like here Zones is going to go for a move. I think Get-Own has actually opted to let him by, but Zones used so much ERS as a result of that overtake that he's actually caused himself to be really at a disadvantage here. There is a yellow flag for a slow-moving Safso that's slightly ahead up the field of where these two are currently fighting. Get-Own clips the back of Zones, back end steps out, but no disasters yet. That was definitely a code round for both of them. Back end step out there. They're actually drag racing each other towards turn 4, that is. And Yonsi's actually stuck on the outside coming through, so this is going to be really difficult for him to make this work. Rainbow's got so much more pace, he kind of squeezed Yonsi right to the edge. Yonsi's got the switch back of Dreams, but the back end stepped out, and that has allowed Rainbow to hold on to P5. See, there's two battles going on in the second. Get-Own is looking for a move down the inside. There's contact between them, but there's also moves from Samidia and Top. They've gone through. Zones had a real back end here that stepped out quite hard. Samidia is staying ahead, but Get-Own is looking for Zones round the outside, coming up towards turn 4, the second to last lap. Get-Own is going to get the race lead just about, but Zones is back on the inside. He's had to back out and stay behind him. But we are coming to the crucial stages, whereas has driven perfectly. It looked like he was favoured for Get-Own, but Zones, unless he screws it up in the final 2 corners and gets himself a penalty, this is Zones' race. He's driven like a machine. He's got it all in the bag, as well as the 25 points.
Yeah, he done a fantastic race there, absolutely fantastic. And you know, that exit that he had on turn 1 was absolutely superb, and that just allowed him to get the slingshot he needed to get onto the back of Get-Own. You know, it looked like Get-Own should have been able to get that back with all the ERS he had to play with, but what an exit that Zones had on turn 1.
Absolutely. Top had an issue coming through the final few corners. He did get himself some penalties, and as a result, he will fall down the road. I think he's actually got a puncture on the rear right, if I look at that correctly. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Rwagnation, the Grand Prix here in Britain. It's Silverstone today, and as always, I'm Ben Raggy McConnell, and joining me is the special guest, Striphium. How you doing?
I am doing well. I'm quite excited, to be very honest. Hello, everyone. My name is Striphium. I am super happy to be here. Silverstone, an iconic Grand Prix. Super happy to be here.
Well, it's good to have you here, but this is the circuit we're going to be attacking today. 3.6 miles in total, 18 turns, and you've got 2 DRS zones, one of which is going to be mainly used to sort of close in a little bit and prepare yourself for an attack. The other is going to be used to do majority of the overtaking. It is a fantastic Grand Prix, but these are the drivers that we're going to be seeing attacking it today. Obviously, in terms of the standings, Zones is your top step. He is the margin. He's 189 points with Geton, who had the top step before, but he has now currently lost it to 169. Somebody at P3 with Brownie P4, Hugo's, Vexit, Top Tom, Danico, Copy, and Rainbow are the remainder of the top 10, with Yalta currently getting best of the rest. The gaps are a little bit spread out. You got Huni, who was there before. He has now been replaced by a new driver, Phoenix Legend, who you'll see on the track. Florian is P13, Yonti 14th, Higgsy, Vania, Safso, Dennis, Alex, and Sipos are the remainder of the top 20. McLaren still, despite not leading the drivers, are leading the championship for the constructors. It is still pretty close though. Williams are closing in. Mercedes, are also closing in, and Renault are really starting to make a name for themselves as well. Red Bull have had a resurgence. They're on their way back to the top, so be prepared that they should do incredibly well coming into this Grand Prix. Now, to show us exactly how you do a hot lap on this circuit is our main man, Yonti. He does these for us every week, and he never lets us down. As we're coming towards turn 1, you want to cut the inside curve quite nicely, and then run over to the outside as much as you can for turn 2, and now 3. Hard braking zone into gear 3. Come round and then get the exit here just right. As you come into turn 4, you have to get as smooth a run on the power as you can so you don't lose the back end. As you come onto the one-seam straight, get the DRS wing wide open, charge now up to the long snaky section of Brooklands and Lovefield. As you come in, you want to turn in nicely, late apex, so that you can bring the car back over to the left a little bit, and then you want to double apex this here. And this is probably another corner which is actually really crucial, because you've got another long run here as you run into what used to be the start-finish straight, and it is now the lead up towards Cops Corner, just halfway around the circuit. Keep your foot planted as you come through this. You will have to do that in quali, maybe not in race. As you come into the famous Maggots and Beckett's, as you got the right and then left, and coming into now the most important corner on the circuit, because this exit has to be perfect. DRS wing wide open as you charge up the hangar straight, leading into Stowe. This is where you're going to see the majority of overtakes. A lot of attacking is going to happen. Side-by-side through Stowe is very easy to do, so I expect to be seeing that as this race goes on. And then coming into the final few corners now. Hard brake is in at the 100-meter board. Get yourself right down the gears to gear 3. Clip the inside curve quite nicely. Don't take too much of the right side here, and don't run too wide here as you come into the final corner to then finish your hot lap in Silverstone. We're now going into, though, the actual Grand Prix itself. And Strifium, you are no exception to this. Every single commentary session, I always have to throw my co-commentator under the bus and ask them for their top 3 prediction. Now, it's a bit harder for you because you don't necessarily know all of the drivers, but I'm going to be harsh and do it anyway. So, top 3, please.
Top 3, well, I have one thing I do look at in qualifying here, Raggy, and that is the first driver out of the pit lane. Today it's Danico, so he's going to be one of my picks to go fastest here. Usually the driver first out of the pit lane has a good sense of what they want to do in the qualifying session. Of course, Danico being the first, he'll be my first pick. Of course, I'm quite familiar with a few drivers on the grid, albeit not in the RNL. I'm taking a look at Alex Budd to go quick today, as well as some idiot in P10 on the timing tower presently.
What's his name? I'm just kidding.
Some idiot? Oh, yeah. Well.
Get it? Get it? Because he's some idiot? Nah, terrible joke. But I do actually really quickly want to just sort of discuss a couple of things here. Obviously, we did go through these standings just a second ago. You know, it was pretty clear cut as to how that looks. I'm just going to put it on the screen for you now very briefly. You know, it is pretty tight up at the front of the grid. You got the top 3 that are actually easily going to swap it around. Somebody hasn't had a race win, I believe, but he has had a lot of podium finishes. That's kind of why he's so close to it. Brownie's right there on his backside, ready to attack him. Should that change? I know when it comes to the constructors, it can change either way, because both Williams drivers have had a good run in many of the Grand Prix. It's just now down to that consistency. We just saw the F2 cars and how chaotic it can be, but also how many penalties were issued there by just taking a couple of corners a bit too hard and a bit too tight, or running a bit too wide. I'm looking at Cops being one of the main ones. That is a very easy corner to either invalidate if you're in the quali, or get warnings and penalties in the actual race, especially as your tires start to wear away.
Danico.
Well?
Sorry, Danico coming down the hangar straight now. He's got some traffic.
Yeah, I think he managed to avoid that, though. There was no... Everyone kept very nicely to the side there. I love to see that so much whenever I'm in a league race. That never seems to happen to me, but these guys have got good awareness.
First time here.
124.3.
Yeah, 124.3. Much quicker than what we saw in F2, of course. Great racing coming out of those boys as Vexit crosses second quickest here. 124.5 out of the Red Bull.
Hugo's getting himself on pole. He's got his teammate, somebody right there on the back of him as well. He's actually going to snatch that away from him. So Williams 1-2. If only you could see that in real life. But it is not going to be the case. It is actually going to be just virtually. As somebody of Hugo's have taken 1-2. Gaon will cross the line. He will take the provisional pole with a 124.206.
Get owned. Really hunting down a race win here today. Looking to get back into lead of this championship. 20 points separating him right now from the leader of this championship. So, as well as driving a McLaren around the home Grand Prix for the constructor. Just the same for the Williams team, I imagine. A little bit of added pressure around Silverstone.
Now, chat, I want to hear your prediction for the qualifying. What is your 1, 2, 3? If you get it in the chat, I will go ahead and read it out. I did see someone put zones, actually, at the top. I have been told, apparently, you're a little quiet, so let me just very quickly fix that so that we don't have this issue. That should hopefully do it. If you can give us a nice hearty hello.
Hello, everyone.
I think that is much better because my ears are definitely hurting now, if they weren't before.
Oh.
But it's fine. Freeware, in the meantime, has said Zones P1, Hugo P2, some idiot P3. Momo has said Zones P1 gets owned P2, some idiot P3. So it looks like some idiot is getting a P3, according to Fawcetti and Freeware. Badger has given us a get owned P1, Zones P2, Vexit P3. In fact, I actually want to touch on Vexit. This guy is very much somebody who has time and time again delivered. But he hasn't always done it when it comes to the race. He is an exceptionally fast driver. He just needs to be a little bit more consistent and stop getting caught up in things that don't need to happen.
Taking a look at copy. Just coming through Maggots, Beckett's Chapel. And something that I've had the pleasure of witnessing through Silverstone in F1 2020 is cops in this release of the game can present itself such a unique situation when they're on heavy fuel load. And I want to, through the race, take a look at, especially on the opening lap, how the drivers go through on heavy fuel load through cops. Now, coming through the Vale chicane is Copy. He is going to be looking to get a nice time set here in that racing point. It's going to be a P12 time out of him, a 124.707, Rwaggy.
Yeah, that's pretty. It's good in comparison to what I can do. But in terms of the rest of the drivers, he's pretty off. You know, pole position, 24.139. And we're still at a 10-minute remaining part of the session where track evolution is still very much a key aspect that these drivers are going to be experiencing going through it. I have no doubt we're going to be in the 23s. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of people really pushing that limit. Probably, I reckon 23.7 is probably the time we're going to be seeing for pole. Maybe that's being a bit too optimistic. It's probably going to be more about 23.8. But I am looking at Zones, who's not yet put a lap time on the board. He has now just started his hot lap, so keep an eye out for his lap as he goes around. But big lock up there on the right side. That might have affected his time just a touch, but he looks okay. I think he's going to be okay.
Dennis coming down through cops now. We'll see how he goes through it, keeping things flat out in 8th gear, utilizing the curbs as best he can. Coming through, of course, Maggots. Now through into Beckett's, and we'll follow through Chapel. DRS wide open on the rear as we cross into the DRS straight, the hangar straight. 101.5 through out of Sector 2. Carrying a lot of speed coming down into Stowe. Through the right-hander, 6th gear, flat out on exit, utilizing that curb where it can be seen to invalidate from some of the drivers just getting so tight on that exit. Now through in that Vale chicane, through Club. What's the time going to be out of Dennis? It's P11. It's a 124.6.
But, like, just think, if he gets a 10th, he gains 2 more places. If he gets 3 10ths, he gains an additional place. And maybe even more than that if he gains just a smidgen more. Because all the way up to P4... From P4 down to P7 is all separated by literally 300ths of a second. So there's still a very small amount of time needed to begin, but a lot of reward that can be read from it. And Zones, he puts us into the 23s. It's the first one on the board. It's a 123.906. Who's going to get near him?
hanging in with Safso right now. He's coming through Maggots and Beckett's. He was very, very fast coming through Cops, so much so that I thought he might have lost the car, but he did very well to handle it. He's got Jonti ahead of him, giving him a very cheeky toe down the hanger straight. His teammate, of course, in this campaign. And coming through Stowe, utilizing 5th gear here. Shorting back up into 6th, now 7th, moving up through the gears, not utilizing 8th into the chicane. Not utilizing too much of that inside curb. Very neat and tidy through the chicane, however. Now through Club. What is the time going to be? Well, a 1:25.399. Very odd that. I thought he was much quicker.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. That toe is useful, but it won't rescue you if your sector 1 and 2 is not very good. So, sad to see Safso where he is, but at the end of the day, we've said this week on, week off, that Safso is more of a race kind of driver than he is a quality kind of driver. He is now repaying the favor to his teammate Yonti, who has just received the tow down the Wellington Straight in towards Brooklands. And then Luffield, it is going to be Yonti. Actually somebody who I think will probably qualify around the top end of the top 10, so possibly P8, P9 territory. This is a track he's actually really quite good at. You know, with the grid being so closely matched. I mean, Vexit and Get Owned are literally separated by 1,000th of a second. That just demonstrates how closely they can be matched. You know, you need to make sure you manage everything going into the race, because one slight mistake will put you outside the DRS train. And on a circuit like this, you cannot afford for that to happen. Yonti really pushing the limits there on the exit onto the hanger straight, but it's all clean. This might be a good lap time.
It's absolutely crucial, as you said, to maintain DRS here around Silverstone when things are this tight. Gap right now from 1st all the way down to 15th position in this qualifying is less than a second. So it's extremely tight. Yonti, as you said, doing well to try and improve. 2.5 tenths the improvement into 10th position.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of need a little bit more if he wants to secure that, because there's no doubt that as the session goes on, as the grip starts to get put down on the track that little bit more, and the drivers start to feel more comfortable with the circuit, you know, these guys will start chucking in much faster lap times. Phoenix Legend, in his debut for the RNL, he has invalidated his current lap, but he has set a 1:25.657, so keep an eye out on if he can bring that time down. Hopefully he can. I don't know how much he practiced for this race, because he only knew a couple of days ago that he was going to be joining us. Still, I believe in ghosts. Do you?
Yes, I definitely do. And speaking of ghosts, no time set right now for Alex Budd. He's got no benchmark for himself to improve here in this qualifying session. So 19th on this grid. He's coming down through Vale, heading into the chicane in the Alfa Romeo as well. I've seen Alex drive, not in a league setting, but he is quite the quick driver, and we'll have to see what he can do here today. I'm yet to see him in a league setting. It's a 1:27.245 from him, and he'll definitely be wanting to improve on that. He might even be out for a continued run here, utilizing that battery still. Brownie crosses into the front row. A 1:24 flat out of him.
So Brownie is really... I don't want this to come out as if I'm insulting him, because it's not an insult in any stretch of the imagination, but Brownie is a very weird person when it comes to racing. He is incredibly fast, he's incredibly consistent, and he's an incredibly good at giving us a show week on, week off. But Brownie has never been someone, apart from at France, who has done incredibly well in the qualifying. Today, he's currently sat P2. This is fantastic start for him. He just needs to try and egg his teammate to be in the same sort of position, because P11 is where Yolta sits right now.
Florian, the last driver in qualifying to set a time, he's now coming through Chapel in the McLaren as well. His teammate Get Owned, 6th on the timing tower presently. He'll be looking to get near that, of course. Coming through Stowe, utilizing 6th gear. We've seen the drivers utilize 5th there, and he's going to be flying into the pit lane here. Not happy with that.
Now, I do know that Florian isn't feeling too great today. He has said into his team chat that he has quite a serious headache, so there is a possibility he may not actually take part in the race, depending on if it doesn't go away in time, which, I mean, based on headaches I've had, I highly doubt it will be. So fingers crossed he's okay. Wishing you all the best, Florian, fingers crossed it's just a temporary thing. Oh, Rainbow! Oh my word, he very nearly flew himself off into the wall there. I don't even know what happened. It was like he just twitched the wheel the wrong direction and he ended up off into the gravel and very nearly in the barriers.
Yeah, I jumped on with Rainbow just as you did, and I had actually not seen his car. Instead, it was Zones who I had seen flying through that section of the circuit, and he's coming down through the chicane. He's looking to improve on already a monstrous time in this session, a 123.9. Does he do it?
Oh,
he does.
That's
wow,
fast.
what a time. 123.796 out of the Mercedes.
I mean, the lap times that he chucks in, honestly, blow my mind. I cannot even get into... if I get a 25, I'm like, oh, that was a good lap. I'm pretty happy with that. Like, he's chucking 23s in, and you know, he's still got more room to grow. Like, that is really good going by him. Fingers crossed, though, he can improve it slightly, because I've got a feeling Top Tom, who was only about a 10th off of what Zones did last time, is yet to set an improved time, and he's only, what was that, 4/10 or under 4/10 off of some of Zones this time. So Top Tom could actually be the one to knock Zones off the pole position.
Speaking of the pole position, of course, we're looking at a championship battle here between Zones and Get Owned. Of course, Get Owned 6th on the timing tower presently in that McLaren. If you're him, how nervous are you right now? 124.2, the fastest time, the clock ticking down on this qualifying session. Drivers have struggled with invalidations. The pressure is going to be mounting for him because he's not going to want to have to fight through the 4 drivers ahead of him to get to Zones at the front of this grid.
Well, yeah, exactly that. It's huge. You know, if you're somebody who already struggles with pressure in general anyway, then yeah, that is going to really affect you. But honestly, Vexit seems to be the kind of driver who never has that kind of problem. He just seems to smash it and really push himself quite hard. But I would say that he's more of a quali driver than a race driver. So if he's in P6 right now, and even a Top Tom P5, I don't know. I think this is going to be hard.
Hugo's is making it even harder. The Williams pushing himself into 2nd position. The second driver in the session to go sub 124 here. It was a 123.947 out of the Williams.
Yeah, Hugo's is somebody who's very hit and miss. He has had fantastic qualifying sessions and fantastic races, but he has also had horrific races. So today looks good. The Zones has retired, so he will not be going out there to try and improve his time, so he has to hope that his 23.7 is fast enough. Somebody who wants to knock him down is Some Idiot, who's currently out there coming up towards Stowe right now, charging through. This might just be the one he wants to get onto pole position. Is it going to be quick enough? Coming through, oh, a bit of a lockup there on the left-hand side that has caused him to run a bit deep into that corner, compromising his exit into the second to last, and now the final. Will he cross the line and get an improvement? He will. He's right behind his teammate, but not fast enough to get pole position.
Exit in the Red Bull. He's just exited Chapel now. I do not know if we'll see an improvement out of this Red Bull. It appears that he was not improved coming through Sector 2. He is going to continue to finish out the lap, though. Find something in Sector 3 he must, and he's going to come through the Vale chicane, utilizing the curbs. Bit of a slide there on the outside, but it is not going to be an improvement, so he will remain 6th position here.
Yeah, that's less than ideal, to say the least, as Top Tom seems to be maybe our only hope to get into the 23.7s and knock Zones down. Get Owned has done it in the past, so don't rule him out. He is out there on an outlap right now. Big lockup there from Top Tom. That might have compromised him a fair bit. He did run quite wide on the exit, but that isn't necessarily a bad thing. He just has to make sure that the exit through here onto the Wellington Straight is good enough. Yalta has retired from the session. He'll stay at P12 at best. I imagine that he's going to get knocked down a little bit more as Florian is out doing a hot lap right now. Next to the line then looks to be Yonti, although he's coming into the pits. We have a not Sipos. We also have Higgsy coming into the pits. And the Williams drivers. So they've done and dusted. They're not going to be improving. Next then is going to be Sipos, who's that quite a bit further back.
Now, I was just taking a look at Florian. He has invalidated this run. Rainbow has flown by him in the Red Bull. He's just heading down into Cops, and he will be looking to improve.
I'm just going to keep with C-Plus now as he comes through this second to last. He is on the medium tyres, and he's only a 10th faster. Is it going to be enough to get in the top 10? It isn't. He actually lost a bit of time there through the final few corners. and stays P14 at best.
Dennis coming into, well, I thought he was going to enter the pit lane, but he's decided to stay out here. He's invalidated this run.
Yeah. Shame. Copy then next. He's also invalidated, so he won't be improving. That's him done and dusted. And now we have the Red Bulls, which vex it into the pits. Rainbow then. He's going to cross the line. He goes up to P6. He knocks his teammate down. That is huge. But where is Geton? He's coming through the final few corners now. He is our only hope, it looks like. Unless Top Tom can do it. Coming across the line. He goes up to P2, but it's not enough. He's just not quite got it done. Danico goes up to P7. And Top Tom has retired, so Zones has secured pole position at 23.796 with Geturned, Hugo's, and some idiot chasing him down. Oh, look how close they are, but look how far ahead Zones is.
That's right, yeah, Zones. He's a 10th and a half ahead of Get Owned here, but Get Owned has some seriously tight company in the two Williams. 6 milliseconds separating him and Hugo's, and another 6 milliseconds for some idiot behind Hugo's. So that's a very, very tight top 4 and even tighter 2 through 4 as well here.
Well, the predictions have been affected. As you can see, Freeware is not too happy that the top 3 has been affected. However, it is, good for the Williams boys to be still P3, P4, but it is Get Owned who has just reached that bar and then not quite got over it, but he's tickled it just a touch. So he's actually very close to Zones. So Zones getting pole position with Get On there in P2, Hugo's P3, Sumidiot P4, Brownie P5, Top Tom P6, Danica P7, Rainbow P8, Vexit P9 with Yonti rounding us out the top 10, and Copy getting best of the rest. Yolta gets P12, Florian P13, Sipos, who tried it on the mediums, gets P14, Dennis P15, Vania P16, Safso P17, Higgsy in the 18th position with Phoenix Legend P19, and Alex Bud running out the whole grid. So, we've seen the qualifying, Striff. I'll give you a chance to see the weather, because I've not actually seen it myself. It may be wet. It isn't. It is very dry and blue skies. So, Striff, you've seen the quality. What is your 1, 2, 3 prediction?
I don't know about the chat, and I don't think anyone's going to really agree with me on this, but I am going to put it in this order, and I think that these races, the pressure, the circuit, they always present these very unique situations, these monkey wrenches, if you will. And I think we're going to see Rainbow with a race win here today. Some idiot in P2 with Brownie right behind him in P3. Those are my podium predictions. Yeah, quite far-fetched there, considering where Rainbow is now in 6th. But it's a very, very harsh first lap, especially when the grid is this tight.
I'm always a fan of out there predictions. That is very much out there, but as Badger said, that is a 1,400 to 1 call, but we'll take it. But chat, we are wanting to hear from you. What is your podium prediction for this Grand Prix? Zones is starting in pole position. He is a very quick driver, very consistent driver, but he has been known to make mistakes in the past, and he has been known to lose out as a result of that. The Williams boys are P3-4, so this is still really good for them to get some huge points and close that gap down to Constructors leaders. We'll have to wait and see. But the chat have given me, Momo has said Zones P1, Sumidiot P2, Get On P3. I think that's quite a good shout, actually. Sumidiot has been one to gain due to his consistency and through strategy. Now, talking of strategy, this is going to be pretty much a soft mediums only strategy, except if you get damage on the first couple of laps. Because after I think it's lap 5, the mediums can go to the end. Yes, they're going to have issues, there's no doubt about that, but they can still go to the end and actually enjoy themselves throughout the Grand Prix. So it's not the end of the world if you do get wing damage. There is a risk of safety car, which may help a few people if they do end up having to go into the pits, but I'm looking forward to this.
Safety car, yeah. Safety cars in these races always something to watch out for. Silverstone, a fairly open circuit in the sense of there's a lot of area for a car to really kind of get extracted. So you have to look at those things when you look at the possibility of a safety car. There aren't a lot of areas where the drivers are super tight to the point where there isn't space, causing tight collisions and things like this. You have, of course, I think some serious hotspots here. Opening lap, turns 1 and 2. You have Cops. I still think that Cops is going to be a very crucial turn here in the opening phase of this race. The heavy fuel load for these drivers, it really depends if they did their due diligence, they did their heavy fuel load running. If they didn't, they're going to be in for a surprise because that's a flat out corner at the end of the race, not at the beginning. So I'm really keen to see that. And of course, yeah, I've got my left field predictions, but it is about to go racing here.
It is indeed. The stewards have been in touch and informed us that there is no rain predicted for this race. So we will see how well this goes down as the lights are on then here in Britain for the Rwagnation Grand Prix. And finally, we're away. It's Zones who gets a pretty decent start, but I think that's Hugo's. Is that? No, it might even be somebody who had a pretty weird start. He looked like he was going to get off to an absolute blinder, but nowhere near as good as Brownie has. He's up to P4, but he's run wide now. Coming in towards turn 4. Hugo's going to lose out. Brownie's going to go around the outside. He cannot quite stick it through. I don't think he's going to try it anyway. Down the inside, rotations for Brownie. Bit of context, sorry. Wow, that took me by surprise. And that is actually Brownie still hanging in there for P5, but Top Tom has moved up to P4.
A little bit of debris coming out of the loop there in the back of this field as well, Raggy. It's wheel to wheel right now by Jonty coming down through Brooklyn's wheel to wheel. Now it's exchanging onto the inside is the Haas. On the inside of this Renault coming through Luffield now. Very, very tight for him, but he gets it done into that final points position for the time being. Vexit hunting into Cops. He's looking at the Williams. That's some idiot in 6th.
Now, there has been a fair few changes throughout this this start, which I want to just quickly go through. Obviously, a couple of people losing out, but the top 3 stay the same. It's some idiot who's lost 2 places. This is quite normal for him, though. He tends to get caught up in some sort of awkward situation at the beginning, but he has a miracle recovery. Yonsei looking for Copy now to take P9 away from him. This is going to be a nice, simple overtake as they come into it. The tyre strategy is going to be key here, and you can see Yonsei is on the soft, so it was a nice, simple, easy overtake. For him to get through there, but he will lose out later. Rainbow and Vexit are literally side by side coming through. They are teammates, so they're not going to want to touch, but they have touched. Rainbow loses back end as a result of the contact from Vexit, but he caught it, and that has allowed Yonti to recover. This is a bit of a squeaky bum time there for Rainbow.
A lot of light exchanges happening in the backfield as well here. Copy still tight to Jonty in that 9th position is the Haas. But of course, Dennis has just dispatched Yeltek for 11th position. He's in that Alfa Romeo. He's very tight coming through the loop on the rear of this racing point. And I'm keen to see if he'll have a look down the inside coming into Brooklyn's here. He's got a decent run coming down the straight, but everyone holding position now. I think everyone wants to kind of get into a groove here. As I say that, it's the Mercedes of Veneer on the around the outside of Brooklyn's through the inside of Luffield.
Yep.
Wow.
Easy peasy. Easy slaps, as they say, and that is Vanya up to P12. Dennis and Copy had a very near little kiss there. It was almost a bit of a rotation, but they are still okay. Vanya's run very far off track through Cops. I think he will have got a 1 in there for that one, no doubt. He has to keep that in check then. He needs to figure a way to get through Cops without running that wide. Otherwise, penalties will come thick and fast, and he will lose out. Speaking of losing out, Yolta just gets onto the gravel there. That has caused him to lose a little bit of time to Vanya. He is still within the DRS range. I know the telemetry on the left will not show that as it stands, but there is still an opportunity for Yolta to recover here. He has to try and get some points to help his teammate Brownie, who's up in P5, get a constructor's push.
Things are just training themselves along now in this top 8. Well, realistically, this entire grid now as the intervals appropriately update. And the curious thing I want to see is who is going to be the first person to snap this train? Who's going to make the big move here as things are starting to just gently settle things down? Usually as soon as they're about to get to that calm, somebody has to upset things. And I'm just curious to see who the first person here is going to be to pull the pin.
Yeah, Florian getting a 3-second time penalty. He is down in P16. Obviously, the medium runners are expected to be that bit slower. That is natural for their grip of tyre. They don't quite have the grip that they need, but they are still within this huge train that goes from P1 right the way down to P15. And yeah, what's that? I think that's 6 medium runners in that train. 5. Can I count? Yeah, 5? Yeah, 5. So there is still, good news for them. If they can maintain that pace throughout, they should be able to sort of gain more when they get onto the soft compound later on in this race. Obviously, the tyres here don't wear anywhere near as much. I think that's more down to the compound than anything. But Yolta is at risk here. He is half a second from Vanya. But he has got C-Post right on his backside. Yes, C-Post has a penalty, but it only takes one accidental maneuver, which I thought he was going to go for a send there, to cause somebody to lose out. Vexit has now broken the train. He's 1 second away from Samidia. He has to recover quickly.
Yeah, he can't lose that DRS. It's as you've said already. It's crucial. It's crucial to maintain that DRS here. As soon as you lose it, you are in major trouble from the drivers behind. And of course, if the drivers behind you have more pace, I mean, that DRS is quite the defensive mechanism. And we've got a lot of drivers holding out right now quite well. Alex Budd, one of them in 17th position, he held off Safso with a great charge down the hanger straight as we moved into lap 4. But that DRS keeping these drivers in these positions right now. Safso still looking at Alex here, quite tight.
Yeah, he's trying to get it. Alex with a bit of a lock up there on the left-hand side. Alex is on the softer compound, so he is going to be naturally that little bit faster. Florian P16. Alex Bird kind of hanging in there on the back of him, trying to gain as much as he can and use that DRS where available. Getund very much sticking with zones. We have had a spin. That is Dennis, who's fallen off there through Cop's corner. Yeah, he's lost out massively, all the way down to P18. Phoenix Legend is coming up to the back of him as well.
Yeah, Cop's corner there for Dennis, taking a look to see if there's any damage on that Alfa Romeo. He might have gotten lucky. Yeah, he did. So he is fortunate right now. No front end damage.
The train is definitely starting to break in places. We have a breakage at P6 with somebody who's 1.3 away from Brownie. We also have a breakage down in P10, who's now, for Copy, 1.5 seconds away from Yonti. So it's the medium starting to break off a little bit. But at the same time, a bit of a problem there for somebody. He really needs to recover. He hasn't got wing damage, so it is purely down to either issues with other drivers on the track or a mistake on his own part.
Yeah, something else to look at is Sipos now looking very tightly around the outside of Yeltek here. Yeltek just stepped in it coming through Abby with a 3-second time penalty, which is going to play with him a little bit here. And now he's under major threat. His race isn't going the way he wants it. And Sipos, he really wants to move by this Renault. They're still fighting through Luffield. Now we're coming through Woodcote, and he might have a good run into Cops here, the AlphaTauri.
Yeah, definitely. He's going to look to try and get this one done. I think on the hanger straight is probably the only place he could really go for it. But at the same time, he doesn't really want to burn the ERS that he has. He is matching Yolta when it comes to that ERS, which is good in that respect. But they both have DRS. So one of you is going to have to sacrifice. But Yolta has sacrificed by going onto the gravel. This has allowed Ceepos to get a better run through the corner. And he should get the move done in time. But Yolta was so much faster on the straight earlier. I think he's running less wings than Ceepos, but that won't matter on this occasion. Ceepos up to P12.
Rainbow has had an exchange with his teammate Vexit. Now Rainbow leading for the Red Bulls in that pair, and it's Gentil who is really tight to the rear of Vexit, and it could be that it was a switch because maybe Rainbow's a little bit quicker right now. Who knows? But it is the Haas and P9 hunting down these charging Bulls, and it's some idiot just ahead who's dropped off of Brownie, as you said earlier, and it's near 2 seconds the gap, and this is going to hurt him, especially if Gentil is able to get by these Red Bulls and has the pace in these softs right now.
Yeah, but this is where some idiot starts to come into his own. As the tires start to degrade, he is the one you can rely on for the consistency in that respect. He will maintain his tires quite nicely. He will usually, for the most part, he tends to extend them a lot further than most people would. And then when he gets onto the next compounder tire, in this case, probably going to be the mediums, he will be much better off at the later stages of the race.
Rwaggy, it's Safso through Luffield. He was wheel-to-wheel with Florian, and he's had some contact. He is off in the Haas.
Disaster has struck in Haas then. Yonsei the only one left running up in the points. Safso, he was already having a bit of a rough race anyway, but now down to P19. Things have just got worse.
That was tough for Safso there, and some idiot now has dropped to Rainbow as Vexit is going to be looking to hunt down this Williams. The tires haven't quite found their wear for these soft runners, but of course, as you said, some idiot very, very experienced at maintaining long stints on tires here and holding very good pace as he does it. So we'll see.
Oh no! Florian and Dennis had a contact, and Dennis got flung off the track as hard as you would ever expect. Florian is still going. He's got Phoenix Legend, who's had contact with. He sent him off as well, and that's Phoenix Legend spinning backwards off into the distance, into the gravel trap. And I think we may hear from the stewards shortly soon as to Florian may be in trouble for that one.
Veneer wheel to wheel. Sipos down the inside through Brooklands.
Yeah, as it said, you know, it is all kicking off, that's for sure. Vanya, though, is trying to close back in onto Sipos. Sipos actually got the work done both on Yolta and Vanya within the last 2 laps. So really good pace from Sipos, especially considering he's on these medium compound tires. You know, there's an excuse, I guess, from Vanya in the fact that he's running on softs and now 6-lap old, so the mediums will start to be the more superior tire. However, there is also the problem that Yolta was on the same compound and he just lost out in general, so he made that one mistake. Top Tom is very close to the back of Hugo's. In fact, all of the top 4 are literally bumper to gearbox. Front wing to gearbox? Yeah, one of the 2.
Rear wing to front wing, something like this.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Top Tom, he's tight to the rear of Hugo's right now, and it's less than half a second the gap, and it doesn't get much tighter than this in a formation, if you will. And one thing I want to touch on while we look at it's a move to the inside through the loop. Does he get it done? Hugo's holding well there. Very neat from the Williams. And Top Tom, I think, knew he might have just needed to back out of that, and it's really compromised him now in what could have been, I think, maybe a better run into Brooklands had he not tried to go for it there. But of course, the gap existed and he went for it. Copy now has fallen to Sipos. Sipos now into the points. P10 for the AlphaTauri, and he is the first driver in the points presently on these medium compound tires.
And the stewards have been in touch to inform us that, yes, Florian's little contact there is being under investigation. Obviously, Florian has now a DNF from the race, so may not be a time penalty. I mean, it would be a pointless going, a time penalty, but maybe some penalty points if it is deemed that he has caused that incident. Obviously, that is still being under review. We'll hear from the stewards later as to whether that's been investigated still during the race or post. However, Top Tom had a pretty poor exit onto the hangar straight. Oh, the Zones is in. That was a very last second. That was very much an in kind of thing.
I didn't even catch that.
So close to missing it.
That was extremely. I was on board with Top Tom when he jumped in, so I didn't see it.
It was
so Top
very
Tom might even be
second.
surprised.
I think they all were. I mean, Ghetto didn't go for it. Hugo's didn't go for it. Top Tom obviously didn't go for it either. Neither did Brownie. All of those on the softs have decided to stay out, except for Zones and Yonti and Rainbow. So they are gonna get into the pits, get out on fresh mediums, and take these to the end. Now the stewards have been back in touch again about that incident, and we have been informed that they are investigating it after the race. So there's no urgency on that. We'll see where that goes later.
With these pit stops now, and with all the tire wear coming through, the difference in setups, the difference in, of course, the drivers and their racecraft, you're starting to see a lot of gaps form, and we've got a yellow flag through Sector 3 as a result. I do believe that is the Ferrari of Phoenix Legend entering the pit lane, retiring the car. Of course, you see the yellow flag pop up whenever this happens, but as, of course, Zones has entered the pit lane, he's exited in 13th, the lead driver. And there's still battles happening. Top Tom has a decent run looking at Hugo's, but Hugo's is just training along in the rear of Get Owned right now.
The stewards have been in touch as well about the incident between Phoenix Legend and Florian, as all of the remaining top 4, it looks like, are all coming into the pits to change their tires. But yeah, Phoenix Legend and Florian's incident is also being investigated after the race. So it was the first with Florian and Dennis, the second with Florian and Phoenix, both being investigated after the race. So now we'll get to see who pitted at the right time. Has Zones pitted within the right time to bring himself back out into race lead? The benefit he had was he pit at the time where pretty much no one was going into the pits. So there's a very little chance of him getting held up. Whereas the rest of the drivers, they're now in a position where they may get held up as they're coming all the way out now. And you can see as they come up to the exit of the pit lane, Geton will still fall back to effectively net P2, but Zones has actually built up a little bit of a gap now.
That's a huge undercut there from Zones. Huge. Nearly 2 seconds, the gap between him and Get Owned presently. Massive, yep. And he's going to have some hot rubber.
Well, the main problem here is, I mean, actually, Top Tom has jumped Hugo, so that's huge. So Hugo's is now fallen down to effectively net P4. Geton is outside of the DRS on zones by 7/10, so that's a bit of a problem. But all of what was the top 5 are now separated. The only person who's within it is Brownie, and he's 6/10 away from Hugo's, who needs to start using this ERS as much as he can, which he is doing, to bring himself back into that 1 second margin of Top Tom, who's also doing the exact same thing. He's trying as hard as he can to push so that they can get back into the DRS train.
P13 right now. There's going to be a fight soon as Yonti's showing some very good pace right now, but he's just taken a 3-second time penalty. I swear I've just cursed him as he was gaining quite clearly on Rainbow here. He's got the DRS on the Red Bull. It's a good charge, but it's not going to be enough into Stowe just yet, but he is catching up. And Rainbow isn't going to be happy about the problem named Jonty in his rearview mirrors right now.
It wouldn't be an R&L race without some sort of commentator's curse. I'm just glad it was you this time, because it's almost always me. So thank you for taking that baton. Rainbow having a massive weave there on the home straight for some strange reason. I'm assuming it's because he's needing some warmth in the tyres. Clearly doesn't feel as though he has that right now. Dennis getting a 3-second time penalty as well. He is P7, but he is yet to pit.
Things very calm at the moment in this grid. Not too many major battles, not too many tight wheel-to-wheel exchanges. We get another weave out of Rainbow here as I'm looking on board with Jonty still. As he made his way into Brooklands, he had another big weave, and it could be that he's struggling for grip, and I think he is. Jonty through Luffield gaining so much time. I think Rainbow's having an issue. Another big weave.
It's concerning. I mean, he's doing it safely. He's not actually affecting Yonti at all. I mean, apart from mentally, because I imagine Yonti's going, what are you doing? Why are you doing this?
He's as confused as us, I imagine. Maybe more so, considering he's got to worry about it.
I mean, he has to worry about it a little bit later. I mean, 44% ERS on Yonti, 36% ERS on Rainbow. Now with the DRS, he's closing in quite nicely. Rainbow did stop weaving at the exact right time, so great news for Yonti in that respect. Higgsy is also up ahead, actually fighting with Yolta. They are both on the same strategy, both on the mediums. Zone sets the fastest lap, and then Goton beats it immediately. So 27.0 is our new fastest lap time. I imagine that time is going to get beaten as these guys who are in the top 6 will eventually pit. Wait for the soft runners to come out as well later.
Yeah, top 3 fastest laps right now, if I'm not mistaken, are Get Owned, a 127 flat, Top Tom, a 127, 139, and then we have Brownie, a 127, 161. Those are the top 3 fastest laps in this campaign so far.
It is going to be an interesting end to this Grand Prix, because look at where they all sit right now. When these guys in the top 7 do decide to pit, they will come out right there where Rainbow and Yonti are, as it stands. There's going to be a hell of a fight for the remainder of the grid, but it looks like this top 5 isn't going to change anytime soon. Geton has done a pretty good job of closing back in onto zones. The issue he's going to have to face is when he does close up to him, will be right about the time that zones gets into the DRS of Dennis. So he's going to have to try and make quick work of Dennis, otherwise this is going to be another DRS trend.
Safso's had a big issue through Chapel here. I was watching along with him as Veneer had a smooth operation into 15th on the fresh rubber ahead of the Haas. Now coming out of Chapel, Safso actually blew through the runoff area off onto the grass and had a big weave out. So he's going to head down into the pit lane, and he's tired of these medium compound tires, and things quite calm. Yellow flag through Sector 3 as a result of Safso has retired the car here, Rwaggy.
Yep, that's the 3rd victim of the Silverstone circuit. I think it's frustrations more than anything. Obviously, we know Florian wasn't feeling too great anyway, so I kind of expected a retirement from him at some point in this race. Here we go. Actually, is that Yonti going for a move here on Rainbow? Yeah, it is. Rainbow looked to have just let him by.
I don't think this setup is catering to the tire compound that Rainbow is on right now at all. He's been dropping time slowly but surely to Jonty. He had the weaves. Now it's a loss of position. P12 now for the Haas. He's got 4 seconds ahead of him, the gap that he needs to climb up to, of course, match up with Brownie in 11th.
Yeah. Now, imagine if a safety car comes out or came out right about now. Some idiot who was looking good in the quali, had a bit of a rough end in the first few laps, falls down to, what was it, P7, I think, in the end. He's now coming into the pits and out of the pits. He should be about 3 seconds, I think, away from his teammates. We'll see now as they come through in towards turn 1 and 2. Maybe a little bit more than 3 seconds, actually. Maybe quite a lot more than 3 seconds, actually.
Now, another thing to talk about here is the fact that we saw Zones absolutely clear with a near 2-second gap on the undercut get owned. And he has Dennis in front of him now. I imagine holding him up, a little bit of dirty air here, but this has allowed Get Owned to catch up so massively. He's within half a second now of his rival ahead. And the key thing is, we looked at the fastest laps earlier. Get Owned is 2/10 clear of Zones in his pace according to fastest lap, if we look at that. So Zones needs to clear Dennis quickly.
Yeah, he cannot delay even slightly, because if he does, not only will Get Owned be ready to attack him, but also the gap that they have currently to Top Tom will reduce quite drastically, because Top Tom realistically hasn't had an answer to Get Owned's pace, and that has been an issue he's been plagued with throughout this entire Grand Prix. So if the game past Dennis doesn't happen smoothly and quickly, we could be right back into a top 5 or a net top 5 little DRS train fight all the way to the end of the GP.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of those drivers would be thrilled about that, as the L-Tech has entered the pit lane and he's going to come out on some softs. And that is going to be a unique switch here, because we're on lap 15. He's going to need to go, well, 11 laps to the end on these tires now and fight his way through some very quick traffic.
There we go. I've got a feeling Zones... Oh no, Zones has actually turned off his ERS. He's not even going to go for a move here on Dennis. He's actually going to wait and bide his time. This is disastrous for him. He's also running very low on ERS in general anyway. 27% as they come into the braking zone of Lovefield. He's right there on the gearbox of Dennis. The exit has to be clean here, and he's going to burn a lot of his ERS, I think. He's not even touched any of his ERS. He's not even going to go for it in cops. So this is now really bad news for Zones. Get Owned has this race pretty much nailed if he can stay on the back of Zones. The ERS difference is drastic.
Yeah, he's locked and loaded on that energy deployment right now. He's just tapping and dancing around that 70 mark right now. You see, as soon as he gets on the brakes, it shoots up between 75 and 80 here. He's got DRS down the hanger straight. Here we have it, Zones now. Around the outside as we move down the hanger straight. Rubber differential coming around the outside here. Lots of grip on that Mercedes. He takes Dennis, and it took some time, but he's made the move done. Dennis now, he could hold up Get Owned, and Get Owned doesn't want to have the same problem that Zones had.
Yeah. I guarantee you Get Owned goes for a move. Oh, never mind, Dennis is just moving out of the way.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
Zones wishes that Get Owned Zones wishes that Dennis did the same thing to him as he did to Get Owned, because now look at the disaster that has happened to Zones. He's so at risk of losing this race when it's going to come down to a lot of consistency. There's a bit of a fight going on for P8. Rainbow and Yonti are actually right there scrapping. Vexy's going to go down the inside. Oh, he's looking for a maneuver. He almost goes into the side of his team. He's going to squeeze Yonti out onto the exit curb. He has done exactly that. They are going to keep it nice and clean, but Yonti and Samidia are also fighting as well. So this is a 4-car battle for P8. Rainbow comes out of the way to let Vex it through. He's now going to hold back Yonti, although Yonti's going to go around the outside of Brooklands into the inside of... Oh, Rainbow shuts the door. I think that was within the limits, but right on the limit.
Oh, some idiot. He had to look around the outside of Lovefield there, Rwaggy, and now he's going to come through the inside of Woodcote, and he's going to dispatch this Haas. Rainbow has the charging Williams in his rearview mirror. Some idiot is not waiting around here at all.
No, he's really not. I mean, he's going to be the fastest car on the track right now, I imagine, due to the fact that he has got that the newest set of mediums. Although Yalta and Copy are out there on the softs along with Higgsy, so they should start to show some pace soon. Expect to see new fastest laps in the coming couple of laps. Vexit is going to be the lead car of this battle for P8, but there is still the battle for net P1, 2, and 3. Although Dennis is actually losing out. Here comes somebody around the outside. This is going to be surely too hard to do. He has backed out of it. Going for a bit of a switch back here. This is compromised Rainbow. It has actually built a bit of a gap between Rainbow and his teammate Vexit ahead. Almost 1 second, in fact. But there's no DRS until we get to the Wellington Straight. Rainbow, again, going down to the inside. Back over to run through turn 1, 2, and 3. Some idiot will be seeing exactly what's happening and knows he will have to make the quickest work of Rainbow that you've seen in the entirety of your existence commentating F1.
Yeah, he's going to have to fly through the Wellington Straight here. He wants to get this done coming out into Brooklands. He has the DRS, but Rainbow is just still sticking with his teammate in Vexit to have the DRS down the Wellington Straight. However, I do not believe he is going to maintain that down, of course, the Hangar Straight, because he's lost that second. And some idiot is within 0.3 of this Red Bull.
Yeah. And this is going to be a very quick and easy overtake. I think Rainbow is deliberately moving out of the tow line in order to protect himself, but he is costing himself a bit of time and the lines through the corners. So whilst Vexit is pulling away, a 1.4 second gap, Rainbow is doing a good job of slowing down Some Idiot, but this is going to be pretty much the end of his run in the fight for Some Idiot, because here comes the very quick Williams. Watch out for a late move from Rainbow to block off the line. Some Idiot read that like a book, and round the outside he goes into Stowe. The move has been secured. He's up to P9, and now he needs to hurry up and close back in on Vexit.
That's something I love about these grids, Rwaggy, about these drivers, is when they've raced with one another for long periods of time, they know each other's weaknesses, they know each other's strengths, and it's as you said, he read it like a book, and it was a smooth move in it to position. And now the pit stops are coming through. Sipos was the first to blink coming into lap 18, I should say, and that has, of course, promoted Zones back to where he began things and leaded this race. Get owned still within half a second, looking at him for the race win.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the worry here is Geton is on 100% ERS. He's literally taking a back seat and just relaxing as much as he can in this race. The bad side for him, though, is Zones realizes that Geton is not going for a push here at all. He's also taking a back seat. He's just putting his feet up and relaxing. Yellow flag in Sector 2, going into Sector 3. That is a non-moving Alfa Romeo. He's now got back underway. We may have seen a safety car. We haven't. We are still good to go with the race. And Geton, who's used a little bit of his ERS, is now closing in rapidly, but still doesn't want to go for a move. Is still going to sit tight.
The energy differential between these two cars right now, this Mercedes in first and this McLaren, of course, behind him, is massive. It's absolutely massive. And why is this? It's, of course, because Zones has no DRS.
Yeah.
That McLaren can just sit in his rear all day, conserve the battery, and if he's got the pace, he can just hold well, and when he wants to take that car, he can. And it's as you said, as long as he holds well, he's in for a very good opportunity for a win here.
But Geton knows how Zones drives. He knows if he passes him, he's going to lose out drastically, purely down to the fact that Zones will then do exactly the same thing to him that Geton is doing right now. So Geton is actually in a bit of a weird place. He wants to pass Zones because he's a bit concerned about Top Tom and the rest of the drivers behind. But at the same time, he can't pass Zones because he's basically throwing away the win. So everybody behind, Top Tom, Brownie, and Hugo's really need to recognize the situation and get a move on. This is not a time to delay. At the same time, you look at the back end of the points grid, P10, Sipos, on the brand spanking new softs, is sat P10 right on the back of this train, which takes you all the way up to P6. So he might even go for a move here. This is going to be very tight if he does go alongside of somebody. He has turned everything off. He has come out of the tow line as well. This is going to be all about the exit through Beckett's onto the Hangar Straight.
Some idiot looking tight to the rear of course, Vexit, but it's Sipos who gets the move first down the Hangar Straight here. Some idiot.
Yeah.
So tight to the rear of that Red Bull. Now it's going to be a look to the outside. Vexit with a gradual defensive maneuver there. That's what I'm going to coin that. Coming through the chicane. And Sipos is going to be happy to be in P9 right now. Ooh. And I think Jonty is going to be on these mediums to the end, maybe. I don't know. It's going to be a long haul for him, but Sipos is going to be happy to perhaps catch up with Rainbow just the same. These softs are going to really push him far here.
He's actually going around the outside here of Rainbow. This is going to be a really good move if he can pull it off, but Rainbow is one to know who's going to give you the squeeze as much as you can, and yes, that's exactly what's happened now. With a very low ERS C-post, recognizes that Rainbow's going to go down the inside, but it's going to be really tough to stick it around the outside, but he's going to commit. He's got the grippier tires. He's got the run he needs. He's down the inside into love field, and that position has been gained, and already he's on the back of some idiot. The exit has to be clean. It is. And that is now C-Post looking fired up for a P6 here. He wants more than that, though.
He definitely does. But it's going to be very hard to catch up with some idiot as he is still charging at Vexit right now. Less than a tenth as they entered through Maggots. And now as we make our way through Beckett's, it is, of course, the DRS straight, the hangar straight. That P6 under major threat for the Red Bull. Is some idiot going to have the run he needs here? He's gaining now, looking to the outside, wheel to wheel as we enter through Stowe. Does he hold it around the outside? A little bit of a wheel tap there from the... Oh, and there goes Sipos through. Does he get both of them down into the chicane? It's wheel to wheel as we make our way through on the exit. Through Club now. Some idiot on the inside of the Red Bull.
Oh.
What a move and what battling we're seeing here, Rwaggy.
This is insane. C-Post gets 2 cars in just 2 corners. Such a fantastic drive from him, and Vexit gets a penalty for running wide. I think he got a little bit forced off wide, though. There was no contact, but that was still Vexit running a bit wide. And yeah, he gets himself a penalty. C-Post is on fire.
That was a clinic in its own. As Rainbow is still looking at some idiot as we make our way through Brooklands. He had to look to the inside. Some idiot narrowly closes the door here, and he's trying to catch up with, of course, Rainbow's teammate in Vexit. But Sipos is going to be so thrilled that he was able to do that, because not only does it give him a boost in momentum, confidence that he was able to come through on some very fast drivers like that, taken by surprise, but he's on these softs, and the fact that he doesn't need to battle that hard with these drivers means that he'll be able to carry them faster and further into the points.
And not only that, he's also going to be able to manage his tires in such a way that the gap will just drop massively. My only concern is he has a penalty. I think P6 is probably the best that C-Post can get right now, so he's going to be happy with his position. AlphaTauri definitely needed some points in this season. They've had a really rough start. We are about halfway through now, so, you know, it's great to see C-Post properly giving it the full beans. I just wish that we were in a position where we could see him get the full beans and stay with us in the top 5.
I have to say, I'm still pretty struck by that move on the AlphaTauri's end. So they'll be happy with that coming out of this race, regardless of the outcome. Top Tom is locked in within half a second of Brownie in this train. He's got Hugo's behind him, and they're separated from the P6 driver, of course. As you said, he's got penalties, so it might be his best case scenario. He's also got some very fast drivers behind him that could catch things up. Of course, some idiot still fighting with Vexit. You've got Rainbow in that train. Jaunty's there as well. But Top Tom is going to want to get himself into a podium position here, and Brownie is the only thing stopping him right now in this Renault P3.
We also have a little bit of a fight here for the last of the runners, effectively. Dennis and Danico. They've had a bit of a swap of places. Danico is down in P16, 19 laps on these mediums. Dennis, wow, that was a tank slapper and a half there. He very nearly lost it. And threw himself off there. But he's still going. He's still okay on these soft tires. But he's 5.4 seconds away from Vanier. And he's currently fighting for a non-point scoring position. Hugo's is right on the back here of Top Tom. This battle for P3 is definitely starting to liven up a little bit more than it was before. We saw Brownie did very easily get past Top Tom a few laps back. That was on the hangar straight. But it looked like to me, Top Tom was saying, look, P1 and 2 are a bit too far up the field. This is more of a, I'm just going to sort of hang back a little bit, let Brownie through, and basically do what Geton is doing to zones, but just for P3.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's literally mimicking what's happening in the front row battle right now. He wants to lock down that third position. He's going to utilize the same strategy. He knows what to do. These drivers, all very experienced. They know how the energy deployment works. They know how DRS can affect things. They know how it plays on tire degradation. But the problem is now Top Tom has something else to worry about, and that is Hugo's, and he can't just sit here and do that if he has somebody putting pressure on him. If he is quicker than Brownie, he needs to get away from Brownie.
Yeah, 100%. That's the problem, though. I don't think he is quicker, honestly. I think Top Tom recognizes that, and he's just basically accepting the fact that he's slower than Brownie and just sitting where he has to sit. But again, yeah, like you say, Hugo's is the problem factor here. If it was just the two of them, Top Tom is almost certainly going to lock in that P3. Now the fact that Hugo's is here it only takes one battle for one of them to be out of the running, sorry, for P3. Brownie is starting to dump a little bit more ERS. He's on 22%. Obviously, double that there for Top Tom, and then the same amount there for Hugo's. It's starting to become a bit of a scrappy end to this Grand Prix. We're about to go on to lap 24 of 26. The gap from P2 to P3 is hanging around about 2.3 seconds. But if Brownie should, for whatever reason, decide, I have to go, my family need me, then he may break that gap right now.
Now, something to talk about. We were watching the battle unfold lap after lap, and there was nothing super intense about it, I will say this, but it has been some idiot now dispatching Vexit into 7th position. It was a smooth operation ahead of the driver into, of course, Stowe. And now we have another exchange here. Higgsy has had an issue coming through Club.
That was his own fault, it looked like. I don't think he's got a puncture. Nope. He's just staying out of the way. I think he's kind of given up hope on this race. He looks to be very much done and dusted. So we have 3 major battles for points here. We have a battle for P1, a battle for P3, which actually Hugo's is looking very hot all of a sudden, right on the back there of Top Tom, so keep an eye on the hanger straight. We also have a battle for P7. So this and there, that goes all the way down to P10 as well. So realistically, all of the points positions are being contested. The only one that isn't is P6. It looks very set that that's going to be. Hugo's is closing in rapidly on Top Tom. He's surely not going to go for a move. This goes around the outside. Top Tom's going to look down the inside towards Stowe. Is going to force Brownie to go out wide a little bit. And Hugo's suddenly smells blood. He can see an opportunity around the outside. He cannot make that work. Surely he hasn't. He will fall back to P5. But a little bit of life is starting to show here. And a mistake being made from Hugo's there means he may be at risk of not recovering that.
Top Tom's thrilled about that. Absolutely thrilled about that right now. You need to take risks. You can't blame him for taking the risks, but it's when those risks don't pay off that they cost you, of course, and it has cost him some time here. But something else is Brownie, he's under major threat from Top Tom. This battle is in full swing, and if these two continue to battle, those risks that Hugo's taking aren't going to be that hard to recover from. Yeah,
exactly. And that's the problem is Top Tom didn't use any ERS there on that entire Wellington straight. He literally just kind of, parked his bike a little bit and just said, I'm going to sit here. And now, Brownie, yes, he is a bit worse off when it comes to ERS, but he's still pretty cozy. He doesn't have to worry too much. He only has to use everything on the final lap, or at least watch out here. But watch out now for Geton, because this is where he's going to pounce. As we come through Magus and Beckett, so the exit here is going to be huge for him, although he lost out quite a considerable amount there. ERS for Zones is single digits. Geton now, he's going to go for a move. Zones goes defensive. Around the outside now goes Geton. Into a Stowe. There's contact. Zones has been rotated and sent off the one to the distance. Brownie will now move up to P2. Top Tom gets P3. And Zones is right down there in P5. And C-Post is coming for him. He might even get him here as well. He is as well. He's up to P5. Suddenly, what looked so easy for Zones has just been smashed into pieces.
Oh my, that is absolute drama here. We were on the penultimate lap of this race. Yeah. And these drivers came together after a deadlock battle for the win in this one. And now it's on the final lap that we go into where it's all come undone. Brownie's had a major issue coming through the farm. Well, not the farm, coming into the loop, I should say. I'm getting my turns mixed up here, but he's lost out his position to Hugo's, and Hugo's is going to be so happy about this because it's Top Tom who is holding well with Brownie all of this time, who's made his way into P2 as a result, but he's going to be under major threat from this Williams.
I think there was a tag there from Top Tom. The stewards have been in touch. The incident between Geton and Zones will be investigated after the race. So bear in mind, yes, Geton will cross the line physically P1, but there is a very real chance that Top Tom will get this post-race. He may not get it as we come to, when it comes to the checkered flag falling. I mean, obviously, Hugo's is looking to fix that as much as he can. But, I mean, he's got no ERS to work with, so this is pretty much Top Tom locking in P2. But Geton, who had a major collision there with Zones, will come around the final few corners. He's done a very good job for the majority of this race. Just one small moment has upset him a little bit, and that has cost him. He's going to get P1 across the line. It's Top Tom who's going to get P2. Hugo's comes across the line and gets P3. Brownie P4. There's contact between Vexit and Summidiot. Summidiot loses back end just a touch. He will come through the final corner and cross the line. Vexit losing the rear, crosses the line, but does fall to P9. Yonti is going to get the fight. Copy! He jumps up 2 places, gets the final point position, and consistency is better than pace. I've said it time and time again, and Copy has proven it why.
Wow, that is just, look at that. All these penalties coming across, Copy just jumping into the points there, and it's fantastic to see the racers come through, finish the race, get those points on penalties. And something else in penalties to talk about here is we saw Saipos with a very good drive today, but it is that consistency that is key, and the lack of consistency, and unfortunately the penalties today were not on his side. He's dropped all the way into 8th position.
Yeah, he has. So, bad news bears for Saipos, but still, points for AlphaTauri. They were very much needed. They've had a really rough start to the season. Halfway through, Saipos looks to be the knight in shining armor, although it looks a little bit tarnished. It wasn't completely perfect. He does get the end game drive of the day, though. That is quite big for him. But no points are rewarded for that, unfortunately.
And McLaren with the win here. That's just a solid drive from, of course, Get Owned. Just start to finish. You can't knock him. You know, that's going to be 25 points now for him. 26 if he got the fastest lap. I'm not entirely sure who secured it at the end there.
It was, yep, Get Owned, he got it.
So 26 points now. He was 20 shy of this championship lead. So this should put him, well, 6 points ahead of Zones now. So that's exactly what he wanted here.
That is before the stewards get a hold of him, because obviously, bear in mind, there is an incident that is being investigated, so there is a possibility that Get Owned may lose that race win. I'll say if he gets a 5-second penalty, for example, he will not just lose P1, but he will lose P2. He will fall to P3, and then that will be a real disaster. But the race rundown as follows. Is Get Owned P1, Top Tom P2, and Hugo's getting the P3. We'll hear from them shortly in the interviews, with Brownie there in P4, Zones P5, Summidiot P6, Rainbow P7, Saipos P8, Vexit P9, Copy rounding out the top 10, with Yonti getting best of the rest. Then Yolta P12, Danico P13, Vania P14, Dennis 15th, Alex Bud 16th, Higgsy, Safso, Phoenix Legend, and Florian are your DNFers of this Grand Prix. So now, let's go to the interview section, where we're going to go hear from our podium runners. Let's see now. Who was P3? It was, in fact, Hugo's. Let's get him in here now, if I can find him. I can. There we go. Hugo's. Hello.
Hello.
Congratulations on the 3rd step of the podium. There is a possibility that you may gain more. Bear in mind, there was a contact between P1, P2, Get Owned, and Zones. It is being investigated by the stewards. We'll see if that changes. But as it stands, you're P3. How was the race for you?
It was honestly really stressful. Like, on the first stint, I had to use a lot of battery on the first few laps to stay with Get Owned. And then in the pit stops, I was unlucky and got held by Top Tom, so I lost the position there. And then I let Brownie through so we can get back in the DRS of Top Tom. And then at the end, everything just, I guess, went my way, and people started spinning left, right, and centre.
Yeah, I mean, mistakes were made. We saw Brownie, who spun on his own, apparently. I've heard confirmation from both Brownie and people that were watching him. He basically saw Higgsy go offline and kind of followed Higgsy, and that was the result. He ended up running off the track, losing 2 positions. He was set for that P3, then you came along and snatched that away from him. So next week, though, I can't actually remember where I went. I do this every week. I don't know why I never remember the tracks, honestly. It is Hungary. There you go. How are you feeling for Hungary? Confident?
Yes, I'm sorry. I would say I'm confident. It's one of my better tracks, so
confident
hopefully
enough
I can get a good result.
P1 prediction?
No.
Oh well, I mean, you started off pretty ballsy there. So all right, give me a prediction then.
Podium. I'd say podium.
All right, I'll take that. Well, congratulations on the podium today. P3 as it stands, pre-Steward's intervention. And congratulations on the points for your team. Also, Smidia scoring well. Williams closing in on Constructors Championship.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much. I'll look forward to seeing what you can do next week.
Bye.
P2 was Top Tom. He is there. Let's go get him. Thomas, hello. How you doing? You are muted. There we go.
Hello.
Hello, how you doing?
Doing good, thanks. Yeah.
I mean, pre-race, we were talking in the league chat, and you said, I've pretty much done zero practice for this. Well, I've done like a little bit of practice. Let's see how this goes. And I said, so I'll be doing the interview with you then. And here we are. Did you foresee this?
I came into the race with no expectations. I mean, that showed in quality. I mean, I should be easily getting in 23s, but yeah, I mean, it was basically experimental setup. I've done a league race there before, but I wasn't really confident in setup at that time. So this was basically just a guess, just hopping on about quarter 2. But it seemed to work out with P2, so I'm happy with that.
Well, I mean, yeah, P2 is huge for you and for your team. This is a fantastic result. But I do want to touch a little bit on the early to mid stages of the race. You had a nice start, but your pace seemed to start to drop off as the race went on a little bit until you got right onto the very end. And I guess a certain degree of luck came into it. But what was wrong? Why were you that little bit slower?
Yeah, I think just generally I wasn't acclimatized to the game, pretty much. I know I have get owned pace in the race easily. For prior race, so it's not like I just don't have the pace in general. It's more just sort of lack of preparation issue, really.
Yeah, no, fair enough. But next week, Hungary. Is that a track you're good at?
I mean, I really don't like Hungary, but I think if there's some luck, I can be in a good place in the race, but it just depends on circumstances. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
But if we follow the same trend as today, for example, where you went, nah, this is not looking too good for me, and then you get a P2, we're pretty much expecting you to get the win by about 3 years and a fastest lap along top of it. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you can deliver in Hungary, even if you're not. But congratulations regardless on the P2. Now, bear in mind that is a provisional P2. There may be, and I'm not saying for certain, because obviously the stewards have yet to investigate it, but there may be a penalty for Get Earned due to the contact he had with the zones. So there's a possibility you might actually turn this P2 into a win.
If so, that would be the luckiest win in RNL history. Yeah, fair enough. I have to say, I don't know what happened. I wasn't really looking. All of a sudden, I thought it was a back mark originally, and then all of a sudden I see the zones. Yeah. I'm like, what is going on? So, yeah, I'll have to look back on the stream or something and see.
So I do need a firm prediction from you for next week. What you got?
We'll go for podium.
All right, yeah, I'll take that. So it's you and Hugo's on the podium again, apparently. I'm looking forward to seeing what you can deliver. But again, congratulations on P2. Thank you so much for tonight, and you have a good week. I'll see you on next Saturday.
Thank you.
Now let's hear from the man of the hour, Mr. Get Owned. Hello, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm fine.
Well, we'll talk about the elephant in the room in a minute. Let's first of all talk about your qualifying. Good pace. About a tenth and a half off of what zones are chucked in. Did you have a bit more to get out of the car?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I bottled at least 3 tenths in that lap, but I just didn't feel comfortable with the setup because I knew it's probably fast in the race because it's more stable and not really oversteery, so I can gain more time in the corners. But yeah, I knew the pace is there to fight for the win, so yeah, all good.
That was fantastic to watch you. Now, we will now talk about the elephant in the room. The contact between you and Zones at the end of the race. Now, we've obviously seen it from a broadcast perspective, but I want to get your opinion and perspective on what happened.
I mean, I don't really know what happened because I think I left him enough space. I didn't even feel anything on my car. And then I didn't even realize for a second that he went off. I had to look back. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. think I left him enough space, but I haven't watched my footage yet, and his as well, so I can't really tell anything yet. But from my feeling, I did nothing wrong, so yeah, I don't know.
Well, I mean, as it stands, you are currently the race winner. Obviously, it is a provisional. The stewards are investigating the incident to figure out whether or not it was whose fault it was, if anybody at all is at fault. However, I'm still going to congratulate you anyway on that race win. Just next week, it's Hungary. Is this a track that you're comfortable with? Are you going to nail it next week?
Oh yeah, I think I've good pace there.
Okay.
Now
Hugo said he was feeling confident, but he then went, "I'll get a podium." What am I going to get from you?
Yeah, probably a podium as well.
I want to hear confidence.
Yeah, if I say P1, I'm jinxing myself again.
Okay.
But pace is really good there. So yeah, need to nail qualifying, but then I think I'm quite fast. Qualifying is my only problem right now, but race pace is decent.
Yeah, I mean, you demonstrated that today. Your quality was a little bit off, but then your race pace was exactly what you needed. And I think, to be honest, majority of the way you raced today couldn't have been any more perfect if you tried. You literally read the situation perfectly and then tackled it as it came down. So congratulations on the race win, or provisional race win, sorry. And I look forward to seeing what you can do in Hungary.
Yeah, thank you. See you next week, hopefully.
You will.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And that's it for the Rwagnation League Grand Prix here in Britain. It's been an absolutely fantastic Grand Prix to commentate for you. And also, massive thank you to Shrifium coming in and I literally last minute. I asked him yesterday and he came in, hooked us up. So Shrifium, I appreciate you very much. Thank you for filling in, mate.
I had a very, very, very fun and enjoyable experience. Thank you so much to all the racers. It was an amazing race. You have it was an absolute pleasure. The Rwagnation, love you all. Of course, Rwaggy, I've been a fan for a long time, so it's been an absolute pleasure. And maybe we'll do it again sometime. Of course, I'm the reserve stand-in, I guess we'll say. Maybe we'll do it again.
I'm almost certain we'll do this again. Don't you worry, mate. I'm almost certain we'll do this again. It has been my pleasure.